Our next presentation, The Future of Furniture, How Disruption Creates Opportunity, takes a hard look at the contract furniture industry, exploring how shifting tariffs, the rise of AI, and material scarcity can lead to new possibilities. Leading this talk is Lisa Gralnek, Global Head of Sustainability and Impact and US Managing Director at IF Design. Lisa is a sustainability advocate and design leader with more than 15 years of experience addressing social and environmental challenges across industries. Since stepping into her role, Lisa has successfully integrated environmental criteria into the application and jurying process for the 2025 IF Design Awards. So let's welcome Lisa to the stage. I'm going to give you this one.
Already?
Yeah.
Cool.
Click.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to sit here. Everyone was here for Laura, I guess. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We're talking about the future of furniture and how disruption creates opportunity, which you guys all probably know something about. I think that the only thing in my career I've learned is that none of us can predict the future. I know that that's what we're here for, but it's actually totally impossible. Does everyone know what this symbol means? It's the fourth letter in the modern Greek alphabet, the capital delta. In mathematics, economics, it's used to symbolize a shift, a gap, a difference between two quantities, a change. And ultimately, as we know, all of us, change is everywhere, all the time. And what I've learned as a change agent is that people don't like change. Many of you have probably experienced this. And then there's this kind of change that's happening to all of us all the time, the macro shifts that are happening that are completely and totally outside of any of our control. The dictionary describes disruption as a noun meaning a disturbance or problems that interrupt an event, an activity, or a process. To me, disruption is change that happens to us by force, things that we don't choose. And since the late 1990s, when Clayton Christensen, who was a Harvard professor, published The Innovator's Dilemma, a great book if you all haven't read it, it's become a very trendy term, this disruption. There he used it to describe how successful companies did not just meet customers' current needs, but anticipated unstated or future needs. And that's really what we're focused on here today. So to prime the pump a little bit and get you guys all thinking about what kinds of disruptions humans have been living through, we're going to do a really quick tour of history. So the very, very first very big innovation or disruption that ever happened was mankind's ability to harness fire. We didn't obviously create fire, but we harnessed it. And by sitting around the fire, we were able to provide ourselves security, warmth. It gave us a sense of community. We were able to start cooking. By consuming the calories much more easily, our brains grew bigger. It was a huge disruption to the way the hunter-gatherers once upon a time roamed and then allowed us into community. The second, of course, is the wheel. It depends on what we're talking about, but from Mesopotamia to the Greeks, to the Romans, then later to the Chinese, then later, obviously, way into the future, we are seeing the wheel allowing man to do things that used to have to be done by hand, allowing us to do greater labor. This is potentially made everything bigger and better. These are falling down. Oops, sorry. The stone tablet, papyrus, and then later the printing press allowed us to capture information. This was huge. We not only had to tell our stories verbally, but we allowed ourselves to build upon the future. The steam engine is probably the greatest disruption of all of time. Up until then, in 1698, everything we did had to be done by hand. It was manpower, literally. Then all of a sudden, you have the steam engine. The steam engine portended the 1800s and the Industrial Revolution. Subsequent to the Industrial Revolution, man has not only eviscerated 80% of the species on the planet and created climate change and all sorts of other crazy things, we obviously have built the modern economy as we all know it. This is the first time, in fact, that the planet has seen one species ever change everything around it. Some geologists even call it the Anthropocene era. I'm going to speed up. We have flight. You know, before 1900, you never had anyone flying. Now we have space tourism, military might, et cetera. We have satellites. SpaceX is going to have the largest IPO ever. These are the kinds of things that aeronautical engineering has brought to us, disrupting everything prior. In 1971, Intel released the first ever microprocessor. It has continued to grow 10 years later. In my lifetime, I wasn't even like that small a child when the first personal computer was introduced. Then in 1995, when the internet kind of really launched, you had Newsweek say, bah humbug, right? Like, this is never going to amount to anything. You know, fast forward to 2007 and the iPhone. Steve Jobs changed everything about the way we do everything in our lives. The addiction is recognized by the WHO, you know, by the World Health Organization. I mean, we have fundamentally changed. What we are carrying around in our pockets as of 2007, forget now 2026, 2027, is more processing power than the NASA astronauts had when they went to the first missions of Apollo, right? This is in our pockets every day. We cannot ignore the disruptions in our lifetimes. And of course, there's so much more that's underway right now, not least of which is the first autonomous robot winning a major sporting event, which was the Beijing Olympics just a couple of months ago. Fueled by AI, machine learning, visualization tools, and all of things that I think everyone is quite scared of, to be very candid, and is coming for us whether we're ready or not. These are the disruptions. And it's a lot. There's just no way around that. And we're all feeling it. I know that. Ray Kurzweil, who's an author, computer scientist, futurist, inventor, name what you will, has a book called The Singularity, and he calls this the acceleration of acceleration, like climbing a mountain and getting to the top and receiving a jetpack. He talks about each new generation of technology being built on the shoulders of the generation before it, that actually technological evolution speeds up exponentially because each generation improves over the last. He talks about the singularity, which is a hypothetical point in time when technological growth accelerates beyond human capacity to comprehend or control it. And I do wonder if we're not getting very close to that point right now. And this is the world in which we're all living. And yet, humans say we've invented something when we create something totally new. And we say we've innovated something when we improve upon or adapt the generation prior to it. Todd Bracher, many of you will know, is an industrial designer based in New York City and the global creative director of Human Scale, who's over in Fulton Market. On Future of XYZ last month, which is the podcast that I host, actually we're part of Surround Podcast Network. We've been live recording here at the Mart. He pointed out last month in the future of seating that perhaps this industry is not actually the most inventive. Because when you sit in a chair, it still feels like a chair. We have all this technology around us. We have all this opportunity. Why aren't we doing something different? So perhaps innovation and invention are exactly the opportunity. And that's what I want to talk with you all about today. So what do we know about the contract furniture industry? What I know is that, like many industries, it's undergoing a fundamental shift, facing really existential questions, changing systems, and altering social norms. There are 4 top observations that I'll share with you. Hopefully you guys agree, because otherwise we're going to be starting from a weird point. The first is, of course, something that Laura just talked about, which is we have scientific evidence proving that our environments fundamentally impact our human psychology. Design can no longer only deliver on function or aesthetics, because clients no longer only care about buying products. They also want outcomes. Those outcomes are about connection and community, about wellness, about longevity, about flexibility. They want competitive advantage. You need to attract the talent. You need employees to perform. You need retention. And they need experience. The competitive set has fundamentally migrated. As the former CEO, and the then CEO, I should say, of Six Senses, a very luxury resort complex, said on Future of XYZ in an interview on the future of hospitality, the office is no longer competing with other offices. It's competing with the best experiences people have anywhere. So related to that, of course, is that the workplace, as we know it, number 2, is defined and changing and continues to be redefined on a regular basis. COVID made us hybrid. We are all being pulled in multiple directions, but so are our spaces. This is increasingly the case. Work furniture, of course, has historically been designed for fixed environments and predictable use. But that's not reality today. Reality today is dynamic, fluid, and hybrid. The third observation is money. Money, money, money. You all understand about that. But the economics of absolutely everything are under pressure. We are talking about geopolitics, trade dynamics, tariffs, supply chain volatility, material scarcity, rising energy costs, labor changes. We're talking about consumers and customers' willingness to pay shifting, profitability pressures if you're owned by a bigger company, consolidation in the industry, acquisition in the industry, availability, the pressure of design as a cost center perceived by the bean counters. These are all things that are happening. It's under severe pressure. And then, of course, we can't pretend that we don't know about technology. Technology, whether it's digitization, AI, tools, techniques, privacy, the acceleration is real, and it gives us all greater access to research, to reference, to customization, to connectivity. These are positives. It helps us optimize. It makes us more efficient. It's supposed to make us better, but of course, technology alone is just an enabler of human creativity and design. It can't replace human-centered design. And as a guest, a very famous guest on XYZ said a few years ago in speaking about the future of the internet, technology will make products faster, but humanity makes them matter. I still abide by that all the time. And so we're left with the point of this topic while you're listening, which is where is the potential? So I am the managing director of IF Design. IF Design, for those of you who don't know, is a nonprofit design institute out of Germany. We've been around for almost 75 years. We run the largest independent design award in the world called the IF Design Award. The insights I'm going to share with you are from the 2026 IF Design Award, the annual trend report that we publish, which I will give you a QR code for at the end to download free of charge, 8 seasons and 6 years of Future of XYZ, and then all of the shows. Milan that just happened, ICFF and Design Week in New York that just happened, here at NeoCon, and of course some of you will be going to Copenhagen later this week. We have a lot of shows, we have a lot of potential, and this is just the tip of what I'm seeing. So the 5 key opportunities are, the first is craft. In Milan this year, craft was so much talked about that our PR firm asked if, quote, we may be entering a full-blown craft washing era. The IF team on the ground observed exactly the same thing. They said there was a striking absence of AI despite its dominance absolutely everywhere else, instead noting a strong return to craftsmanship, heritage, and materiality. Quote, traditional brands seem to be deliberately doubling down on the handmade and the timeless. Across the design ecosystem today, we're seeing shifts towards greater craft and care. New kinds of partnerships are emerging. No typical commercial collaborations, although those, of course, still exist, but much more true collaboration between diverse brand teams to co-create and reach new consumers or new clients. Luxury brands in fashion and jewelry have been quietly running apprenticeship programs and educational programs for their craftspeople for the last 20 years. There is a big question as to whether we need to do the same thing. It came up on my conversation on Future of Not Fast Furniture with Brad Ascalon earlier, which is where are the upholsterers, where are the makers, where do we train, how do we reskill? And of course, there's a lot happening related to customization and storytelling. And this kind of commercial point is a differentiation strategy. In the future of floor coverings with the general managers of Toronto-based Creative Matters, we heard on the future of XYZ about bespoke, narrative-driven environments that use flooring materials and furniture as identity markers and meaning makers. They said, standardization built the last generation of offices, storytelling will define the next. In the Eye of Design Trend Report 2026, we explore 4 pairs of trends and their counter trends. This is a very different format than usually, where we do 10 mega trends. And their first pairing is the age of average and recoupling design, the trend and its counter trend, that showcases not only a quiet pushback, especially from younger generations, but of those seeking craft, creativity, and connection, instead of our attention economy that we've been living through over the last many decades. And finally, pictured here are 2 winners of the Eye of Design Award 2026. The first is Redoma. It's an artistic lighting collection from E10's collective in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's a partnership with Mariana Amaral that features Brazilian Renaissance lace, which is traditionally produced through collective and rhythmic work, accompanied by the voices of women singing as the lace is crafted. In their statement, they said, crafted through the combination of artisanal lacework, glass blowing, and metalwork, the collection merges tradition and cultural memory with contemporary production. Craft at its finest. The one on the right is Ombre, which is a tile collection from Nexion Surfaces in India. It redefines full-body porcelain with 5 deeply unique structures inspired by visual languages like Indian iconography and Morse code. Using handmade earth-pressed molds with proprietary production technology, the tactile designs, quote, engage light and memory, blending artisanal soul with technical precision. And at its core, design is a discipline that centers on human experience, one that is meant to welcome people into a conversation and spark inspiration. Naoki Tanaka is the Global Creative Chief Officer at Dentsu Lab in Japan. She's in the Trend Report, and she says, imperfection can move people in ways perfection never will. Intentional creative imperfection is one of design's most powerful tools. That is the beauty and wonder of craft. The second observation is sustainability. This is obvious, but whether we're talking about energy efficiency or renewables, adaptability or regeneration, carbon capturing materials, biophilia, permeability or circularity, sustainability is about science-backed innovation, transforming not just what we design, but the choices we make in what we choose to buy. On screen here are 2 examples that highlight how sustainability is no longer surface level, but about full systems. Not to say that there is not still a very long way to go. On the right, I call out Grace Farms, Design for Freedom, which is a movement to remove forced labor from the built environment supply chain. Among their many commitments and calls to action, they've adopted the Common Materials Framework, CMF, of Mindful Materials, which is a Sandow company now as well, to enhance efforts and ask product manufacturers to report according to these priorities. There are other similar resources from the A&D Materials Pledge and a multitude of accreditations and certifications, most of which are recognized across our 93 categories of design in the Eye of Design Award, which I am very proud of, for 20% of the score being sustainability now, both social and environmental impact. On the left, we see another Eye of Design Award winner 2026, which is Nestle's headquarters in Frankfurt, Germany. They won for both office interior design and brand experience. The new headquarters, quote unquote, redefines corporate culture through space. Sustainability was a core principle from concept to completion. Existing furniture and materials were reused and complemented with certified, durable products to reduce waste and carbon impact. The design promotes well-being, equality, and inclusion by offering diverse spaces for different needs. As a social ecosystem, the workplace fosters community participation and long-term engagement, creating lasting value for people and planet. It's like a rock party happening out there. At the end of the day, we know that labor, community, materials, regulation, or the lack thereof, prove actually that sustainability no longer sits alongside business strategy, but is central to it. In IF's Trend Report, again, the second pair of trends is called Age of Convenience versus Skillization, and it addresses how can design help shift the mindset from consume and replace to repair and reuse in a way that is both effortless and desirable rather than just responsible. The third observation and opportunity is service. Leadership and change guru Tony Robbins said, innovation is not tech. Innovation is any way you find to do more for a client than anybody else does. Though there are small pockets of evolution in the contract furniture business, it's still pretty traditional. Service model innovation is both overdue and a huge opportunity. In fact, there are so many opportunities. Think about systems, think about processes. Tackle pre-purchase and post-sales support. Address sustainability. Use technology to deliver and local manufacturing supply chains whenever possible. And you can build new revenue streams with service. For instance, take back, refurbishment, donation, resale, modularity, customization can all become their own product as service. The examples on the left are Steelcase's circular program. They will take back certain task chairs and refurnish them, and, by the way, give you a new 12-year warranty for that, avoiding landfill and unnecessary waste, to be remanufactured or remade. On the right, we see another IF Design winner from 2026, which is Geopack by Whitecroft Lighting. They aim to tackle the packaging waste problem in Europe's construction sector, which amounts to over 500 million tons of packaging waste per year. Despite complex on-site logistics, Geopack replaces these single-use packaging of lighting with reusable, geolocated containers that are pre-packed to provide all of the lighting needs at that precise location, thereby significantly cutting on-site waste and handling errors, and of course, expanding demand for their lighting products. It's great service. So winning companies are already innovating on the service side, and the question is, are you? The fourth observation is distribution. And I've noticed that contract furniture still runs largely on this showroom and trade show model. I'm not sure if it's because it's always been done that way or if it's what actually works or both. I'm not an expert, but I see opportunity. And one point of interesting novel intersection is actually the intersection between art and design, as well as the synergies between brand storytelling and necessary innovation. Here in Chicago last night, I went on that, sorry, I should switch the slide. On that boat for Blue Dot, which is, their contract upholstery furniture program, which is specially designed to address the shift across workplace and hospitality towards the more human-centered experience. And then on the left, we see this stunning Tokyo retail store that won an IF this year, saying that their objective was to unite two distinct brands in one flagship store, using strata as a central concept, celebrating two identities with contrasting materials, solid wood for the traditional brand, and laminated wood for the modern club. The design creates an exploratory journey for customers, transforming the retail experience into an art-like experience. The showroom as gallery, executed well, offers a powerful narrative. We are facing a moment in time when people want environments that are conducive to convening, engaging, and enjoyment. I think everyone can agree with that. And at a time of real market convergence, distribution becomes a remarkable way to differentiate yourself, showcase your product differently, offer new services, and build relationships. And the last and final, probably the most important of all of the opportunities, is feeling. Coming back to the idea that we know that design changes. It's a shift away from function towards considering how design makes us all truly feel. And the truth is the contract furniture industry and its future is probably not about what we make. It's about how people feel in the environments that we create.
And with that, I'm lurking on stage.
Sorry,
to tell
let
you.
me just finish. I have 2 minutes.
You're finishing?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to lurk here.
Yeah.
Positively.
And especially in the workplace, standardized design solutions are giving way to custom environments that promote inclusion, belonging, and meaning-making, but you have to go out through small, emotional, and personalized moments. The left and the right are both 7 years apart in Milan. One is Annabelle Schneider's installation for Snøhetta and USM this year, all about feeling. And the one on the right is Suchi Reddy's installation with Google and Muto 7 years ago in partnership with Carnegie Mellon, where people got tracked on what their physiological response was to the spaces in which they habit. It's called neuroaesthetics. And both of these things give us huge opportunities as we think about design for the future. And so in summary, even though it seems like we were once upon a time on a linear track towards the future, we're not. It's very confusing, it's very disruptive, and none of us can predict the future. And we don't know where it's going.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. Let's get a big round of applause for Lisa Gralnek.